Claudio and Renata Lugli have written a new book about David Miscavige. It's an unauthorized biography. Claudio and Renata were Sea Org members and Scientologists in the Church of Scientology for many years, but they left 15 years ago. Claudio and Renata became famous clothing designers in Italy, and they designed clothing not just for the public, but also personal stylists for David Miscavige and his wife Shelly for many years. They also designed the uniforms that they used in the Scientology organizations. They've come out with a new book that they've written, David Miscavige, the Scientology Leader in the Shadow. The book is available on Amazon.com in Italian, English, and soon German. But Claudio is here today to talk about the book, and we hope you enjoy this interview. I think you're going to find it very, very interesting. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and I've got a special guest here today, all the way from Italy. It's Claudio Lugli. He's written a new book about David Miscavige with his wife, Renata, and it's David Miscavige, the Scientology Leader in the Shadow. And they've also written another book as well, and we're going to talk to him about this book as well as his life in Scientology and now outside of Scientology. He went all the way up to OT8 before they finally left the organized church, I don't know, about 15 years ago. And then now, since then, he's been out in the independent field and he's doing auditing along with his wife. He was a designer, clothing designer in Italy, and became very famous doing that as well. He was the stylist along with his wife for David and Shelly Miscavige when they still were in Scientology. And so he's got personal stories in the book, and we're going to talk about that. So everybody, without further ado, let me introduce you to Claudio Lugli. Hi, Claudio. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. I'm good. What about you?
Good. I'm doing great. It's very warm here, as we were talking. We're over 100 degrees, 104 Fahrenheit, and you said it's very warm there in Italy, right?
Very much. Yeah, we're getting, the winds from Africa.
Well, I wanted to go ahead and get started with your book and tell everybody, I have a copy right here. I'm about halfway through reading it, okay? And I'm really enjoying it, It's available, by the way, for anybody. It's available on Amazon in Italian as well as English, right?
Yeah, and we also translated it in German. It's almost finished.
Okay.
Refined by someone. And maybe we'll do it also in Spanish.
Okay, that's great. We'll start with the book, and then we'll talk about other subjects after we do that, okay? I'll tell you what I love about the book. This is an unauthorized biography of David Miscavige. Of course, you and your wife knew David and knew Shelly as you were public Scientologists in Clearwater, and like I said, you eventually became like his stylist and designed clothing and uniforms for the Sea Org and Scientology and all that. But I'll tell you what I loved about the book, because I know a lot of the information that you talk about in the book, because from my point of view, I was working for Miscavige and I was in the Sea organization. But what I like about your book is that your book, in my opinion, takes the point of view of a public Scientologist finding out this information for the first time, right? Am I correct?
You're very right. See, we didn't know anything before the big, St. Petersburg time situation and the bomb, I consider, of 2008. We were totally, online. We really believed, that he was the one that was chosen by LRH. We believed everything because we thought we were dealing with honest people.
Right.
We thought that. See,
right.
It was not like that.
No, and you wouldn't have known that because, the way Scientology and the Sea organization was set up is the closer you got to Hubbard or to Miscavige, the more you knew what was really going on behind the scenes. But a public person, that was all kept It was a need to know basis. If you didn't need to know what was going on behind the scenes, they wouldn't have told you.
Yes, I mean, I've been also in the sphere from '74 to '82.
Yeah.
We started in Milano. We went to FSO. We've been, so we know the ins and outs. So most of the people I write about in the book, we also met or knew before. You see.
Yeah.
And I think the book also, of course, as you said, there are several things that are known. It's not that everything is new, but it's like a compilation all in one place. You see,
Yes.
that's where it has weight, because it is in one place you can see the man.
No, I totally agree with you. And just for our viewers to understand, every chapter of the book, it tells information and stories, and some of it, you would have seen on the internet, or you'd have read from Tony Ortega or other people or whatever. But he's got it all compiled, and every chapter has footnotes for everything, pretty much everything you say in there, unless it's something that you experience and all that. But literally every chapter has footnotes that you can go and see exactly where he got the information from. Testimony and trials, declarations from people, people's books, people's interviews, and that type of thing. And so it makes it very powerful. And like you said, it's a great compilation. How hard was it to get all that stuff put together?
Well, mostly because we didn't want to bore people with the usual. In fact, most of the chapters in the beginning are like cinematography. So I pretend I was there looking at a scene. Maybe the scene is not true, it's not real, and of course I say that what I think or what I imagine is my imagination, but it gets pretty near to what was happening to my belief. And then I get into also personal thing because I have something going on also. But mostly I had to be precise, because you are dealing with a monster here. You're not dealing with, Cinderella. So I had to be very precise in case somebody wants to retaliate, which I hope that they will do.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I understand, and we all understand that, who have been fair gamed and had Office of Special Affairs come after us with private investigators and lawyers and all that sort of stuff. But you basically covered your bases, because you've got, like I said, you footnote everything that's there.
Yeah, it was legally checked. It was legally checked.
Yeah, and it was legally checked. Yeah, and it's funny too, because our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion, you definitely use us in quotations from our shows, which we totally are fine with and we totally appreciate, in several places throughout the book. And I was reading, I was like, hey, Janis, I said, we're in the book, he covers this thing. We were talking about the free ones with David and Miscavige and this and that, and we've done over 400 interviews in 3 years, and our whole purpose, the same thing, is we're just telling the history and letting people tell their stories. They don't come back after us at all, Scientology or OSA, because we're just telling the truth. I mean, what are they going to do? Say, oh, that's not true? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's not like we're making stuff up.
But I'm telling you something that maybe you don't know, because you see the book, you see a biography. How comes that we did the book? You see, it's not that I woke up one morning and said, okay, I'm doing the unauthorized biography of David Miscavige. I tell you what happened. I was there just browsing, my mail, and I get my provider saying, okay, you can get a website for free.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, who cares? I have my website. I don't need a website. But then I said, well, let me check. And just for fun, I wrote www.davidmiscavige.it. I was sure it was taken, because of course it was taken. It was not.
Ah.
So he said, I buy it. So I bought davidmiscavige.it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I said, okay, what am I doing with this David Miscavige totally. So I decided, since we have a son in the Sea Org,
Yeah, Flavio.
Claudio Lugli, and we tried in every way to get to him and etc. It's a long story, but what we decided, he said, okay, I send a message to Miscavige through this site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why. So we wrote the message like, okay, we can make a deal here, because your Office of Special Affairs flanked because your site in Italy is not protected, is mine now. So your name is mine.
Yeah.
So we don't want any money, anything. We just want, a gentleman deal, Just send us back Flavia. We give you back your site. It doesn't cost you anything, it's just one SEER member out of whatever is left there, I don't know.
Yeah.
Back, but you should come back also willing to be back. No, okay, I have to go back. Of course, we posted this on our Facebook. Of course, somebody saw that. I don't know if David Miscavige saw that. Maybe not. I don't know if somebody is filtering the situation, because it's very strange that nothing happened. I mean, something happened. After 2 days, someone wanted to buy the site.
Uh-huh.
We were contacted by a company saying, okay, we are interested, but we say we are not interested. We just want, there is written on the site what we want for the site. We don't want money, we are not interested. Then what happened? We wrote in the site, I'm gonna write your unauthorized biography, and I'm gonna post a chapter of the biography every day or so, till or the deal is true or the biography becomes a book. So after 3-4 months, I don't know, whatever it took, there was no communication, nothing, even if the site was monitored by Church of Scientology International, Church in Milano, Church of everywhere, because you can find out who goes in the site.
Yeah.
So daily was monitored to see what we were writing, but nothing happened. So we wrote, okay, we do the book. So we deleted all the chapters from the site, and we made it as promised in the book. In a book, nothing happened. So there are two possibilities. Maybe and you can give me your evaluation on that. Or he doesn't know about it, which is one hypothesis. Or he doesn't give a shit about it, which is a second hypothesis, which maybe is that because he's not into that anymore. He's into, million and billion and trillion of dollars. You see what I mean? Into other games besides his reputation. He knows his reputation. So okay.
Well, he is a narcissist and he has a huge ego. And in my opinion, he reads everything that's written about him, because when I worked for him, anything that was written about him, or he wanted to know about everything, every decision down to, what color fabric was going to be used on the chairs in his office, or to whatever, or down in the organ in Milan, he has to approve it. So I guarantee you he knows about it. Okay. Whether he cares or not, I don't know.
I don't think he cares, because it doesn't cost him nothing. You see, I wouldn't like to have a book published on me.
Yeah.
With all of this, I wouldn't like it. You see what I mean?
I think, though, now that you brought it up, right? I think he's already checked out. I think he is already, like you said, into the millions and billions and the real estate. I mean, he literally, that is his focus, in my opinion, because he's 65 years old now. You know what I mean? I'm 67. I'm 2 years older than him. We're all going through medical and health issues now. You know what I mean? How much longer does he really have? 10 years? I mean, this is a guy who's chain smoked Camels unfiltered, cigars, drank whiskey. You cover that in the book, and doesn't, he exercises and tries to look good and this and that, but hey, it catches up with you. Plus he had asthma his whole life, So I know how paranoid apparently he was during COVID. You know what I mean? Like the organization was shut down and, so, who knows? Who knows how long he's going to be? And maybe his goal is he's just trying to live out in hiding and avoid lawsuits and everything else that's going on.
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, I did what I promised I was doing.
Yeah.
That's the product. The product is the
What's
book.
been the reception of the book so far in terms of, I imagine you have a following or people in Italy and things like that follow.
For an Amazon book is not bad. I must tell you. It started, of course, very good in the beginning. Now it's softening down, but without any advertising or whatever, it keeps going. That's I like that. And we did it. We don't do it for the money. The book is $15. I don't know. It's 300 plus pages, and the ebook is $4 or something like that. So
and the thing is, it's available on Amazon everywhere, just so you know. But the thing that's great about it is, like, for instance, on our channel, right? We've got 11,000 subscribers. Who knows? I mean, we get 1,500, 2,000 views on our shows every time we do them. Well, there's going to be a lot of people that don't know all this information. And like you said, you've now compiled it into one location. So if they want to spend the time, doesn't take that long to read. It's a perfect reference. You know what I mean? It's like literally, if you want to answer somebody's question, you've got the book as a reference. So hopefully some of our viewers will be buying it from you. And I'm sure others will as well,
Why not? But I mean, the book also is for Scientologists, because it reveals a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
And also for non-Scientologists, because it exposes who is really behind, is the leader in the shadow. It's a leader in the shadow.
Yeah.
You don't know his power, you see what I mean? Till you are under his thumb.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing, too, because, I mean, I met him when he was 16. He just joined the Sea Org 30 days before, and we were roommates. I had 17, just graduated high school. And to see the evolution from what he was then to what he is now, it's a fascinating story. It would make a fascinating movie, you know what I mean, as far as villainous, and that type of thing, because he literally, like, you definitely lay it out about his ability to powerfully take over power and get rid of anybody who he perceives to be a potential threat. Internally, he got rid of, anybody who was basically close to Hubbard. He got rid of them eventually, and that's how he consolidated his power. And then all he had to do was go up there and talk to, at all the events as the master of ceremonies and basically take all that adulation that used to go towards L. Ron Hubbard, and then away you go.
I mean, this is something that I think this is, and it's about at the end of the book, which is the main crime from my point of view. He really was he did an act of treason of gigantic, dimension toward Scientologists that believed that they were doing something to better themselves and to better society and to better the world. And then this guy comes along. You see what I mean? And you can say anything you want about Aaron Hubbard, that he was paranoid and he was this and he was that. But I think he was in a bona fide in his research, in his willingness to find something that could help people. I think he had good intention. He was a bona fide researcher, a bona fide philosopher. Miscavige is just an opportunist. As you said, he's a narcissist, and so he's very dangerous.
Yeah. No, he has no interest in bettering things. He has interest in controlling money and power. I mean, literally, you can see figures like that throughout history, that's all they're interested in is themselves. He's not interested in clearing the planet like we used to say. I'm sure here's the other book I was going to mention as well that your wife wrote that I also read, and this one here, and I read it last year. It's a fantastic book about her time in Scientology and why she got involved. Yeah. And why she got involved and what was so powerful about Scientology and how basically it was all stolen away. And I agree with you. I think his treasonous act is basically, for the viewers out there who don't know, anybody you talk to who was around in the 1970s or 60s or whatever, Scientology was on a roll. And it wasn't like we're trying to take over the planet. It was more we're trying to help each other and help society, just like you said, right? And so that to me also was the biggest ARC break, as we say in Scientology, for me when I left, was that I felt like I had lost that purpose. It had been taken, it had been stolen away from me.
Yes, but this is what he did, and his friend Pat Broker did was a huge act of treason. Because, okay, Ron Hubbard did whatever he did. He reached, he developed whatever level he developed. We couldn't fly, and move to other planets. Fine, okay, but we have a better and greater understanding of life if you study Scientology. That said, they should have said that Ron Hubbard died. That's it. Not that he died and he left the body and he went to, Target 2 and all this bullshit that we all believed, of course, because we
yeah.
So, but the other act of treason, huge act of treason, was that he compiled everything that needed to be compiled up to whatever. And you see, what we were going after was total freedom. That was the promise, which was not kept, but at least we were going toward it. But one should have said, okay, Ron Hubbard died. He didn't leave anything written.
No.
Sorry, boys. You see what I mean? Maybe the church would have disbanded. I don't know the consequences, but at least it would have been honest. Ron Hubbard died. He left nothing. Now we have those, for example, I'm just making an example. We have these 12, 15 tech specialists, and they will see whatever we can develop. Okay, go forward. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But you put the carrot in front of the donkey, donkey. And so we went for the carrot, and the carrot was the promise of Pat Broker and Mr. David Miscavige. Pat Broker was taken over by the power.
Yeah. It's funny too. Or they could have also then said, hey, LRH has already laid out all of this technology and all of these levels and everything. Let's go out and deliver them to the people who aren't in Scientology. How about that? Do you know what I mean? Like let's really change the world, because it's changed our lives. You know what I mean? Let's change the world. They could have come out and said that too, but they didn't really do that.
No. I wrote it in the book, when he started with the big idea, ideal orgs, which is totally contrary to a policy that Ron Hubbard wrote, which is called ideal org. You read ideal org policy, it's totally contrary to what David Miscavige is doing. Fine. So when they were coming to us to try to get money from us, for the ideal org, and it was in the beginning, but it was this, urge, okay, we have to make ideal orgs, and there's people behind it, and Regis, and whatever, you name it, lots of staff members. And I told to the in charge of the situation here in Italy, I said, listen, but why are you wasting all this time to buy buildings? Why you are not wasting the same time to train auditors that go out and audit people?
Right.
He couldn't explain, because there is no explanation. There is an explanation if you understand what one is going after, and Miscavige is just going after the money.
Yeah.
No, it's not more a philosophy. Scientology is no more a philosophy. Scientology is just a business, a real estate business.
Right. That's what it is right now. It's donations and real estate business. You got money offshore. And,
it was very revealing when you interviewed B.T. Miscavige. She was the one doing it. This was very revealing. Nobody knew that. You see, nobody knows. and it's full of information there. You see what I mean? And what you
Yeah,
said about the lawyer, in the conference room, they said, okay,
that's right.
we go, we do the same that we did.
And it was purely coincidence that I was in that meeting. I had no purpose in that meeting other than I was in Los Angeles that day and was because I worked for David and Shelly Miscavige at the time. And they said, oh, why don't you come in and sit in on this meeting? And I happened to be
That's
that.
a vital information. I mean, a lawyer is suggesting, okay, just get some money offshore. Okay.
Yeah. The key point was we never got any refund requests from the Safe Environment Fund for the Snow White and Mary Sue. And that was the whole thing. But this is a way to protect money. That was it.
Yeah, I quoted you on that. But I see,
Yeah.
I remember the offshore thing was also when Hubbard was there, because I remember we were working for Flag in 1978, 79, and Europe money were not going in the US. Mm-hmm. Money from Europe were going to Luxembourg.
Right.
So Luxembourg is not US wide. So they were playing with, okay, we have money there, money here. You should protect, of course. You should, not be naive. Okay, we are for the goods of the planet. Of course, you are a big religion, you are a new movement. You should have resources to protect yourself. But another thing is everything is done to gather money because we have to protect ourselves. And I'm telling you, I was here in Italy in 1982 when all the orgs in Italy were raided.
Right.
Now, everything was closed down. And the IRS was already in place, and the promise was, whatever happens to any org, we are here and we will save the org. We didn't see $1 to save the org. You see what I mean? I think it was maybe 88, maybe 88. Yeah. So what happened was that everybody, me and my wife, we had the org coming to our house to audit and make courses. Mm-hmm. We raised money from a concert that we did with Chick Corea because he was here on tour, and we also did a small concert to raise money for, keeping the thing alive. No IRS money, nothing.
One thing I wanted to say about your book, you cover, L. Ron Hubbard and his final years, and basically in hiding, and Pat and Annie Broker and the communication line, which I knew because, I was involved with it in terms of like Miscavige controlled the communications of Hubbard, and then Hubbard, that was how that was the power, was that communication line, right? And Pat Broker was the conduit in between, right? But, the funny thing is this. First of all, let me make one observation, then I'll say the other thing. Is that I hadn't thought about this before. We all knew that Hubbard, or we've known over the years, that he had some stroke. He had strokes, you know what I mean? And so he was not in great health. And when we would get, if you remember, we would get recordings, Ron's journals and stuff, his voice would sound different, like, and we would get them and it just sounded weaker, And so we thought that there was something wrong. He was an older man and all that. And of course, we've now later learned that he basically was like very paranoid, which obviously he already was, right? But he was even more so paranoid. And then he was going kind of nuts, And you pointed out something about dementia, you know what I mean? And I just, from my own personal experience recently, my mother passed away in January at 95 years old, and she had dementia the last year and a half, right? And you could see her reasoning go, and she would get very angry about things that really weren't important. But so Hubbard did the same thing. Hubbard would write down based on these reports he would get from management and Miscavige and all that. And all of a sudden, something that was completely off the wall, like you weren't expecting that, he would be angry about something that you then had to change direction and stuff. And we're all kind of going like, he's got to be getting false information or something. But I'm starting to understand a little bit that, the people who took care of him and also the messengers, they reacted to how Hubbard was. You know what I mean? They didn't control Hubbard. Hubbard controlled what was going on. And so they probably reacted to him getting upset about something that literally, those were the marching orders that went forward. And so his dementia was taking over, and that was what Miscavige and Broker basically knew and
They
exploited.
capitalized on that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think they
because
do.
I had never witnessed dementia before, but it's really powerful. I mean, in terms of the decay that happens, and the person that was there before is not the same person anymore. They've lost a lot of their reasoning ability.
But you see, the point is that for us, not in the magic circle,
Yeah,
this could not have been. It's something that cannot exist.
right.
But for Pat Broker and David Miscavige, they know. And in the book, I write this cinematography, surrealistic situation when Hubbard's son, Ron the Wolf,
Oh yeah, Nibs. Yeah,
needs. And
Elwood
so
Hubbard Jr. Yeah,
I imagine that they mean and say, oh, the old man has dementia. What the fuck are we doing? Okay, just get some,
yeah.
digital.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like that, his will was signed like few days before he died, and that was challenged in court. You know what I mean, in lawsuits and stuff, because they didn't believe that really he was mentally capable of doing that.
I wanted to stress one thing on this imprinting, by LRH, that was accepted by, by the judges as
Of course, yeah.
But you see, in there, and I'm telling you this because this is used. This is the only thing that is used to legitimate David Miscavige. The line where LRH
Yeah.
David Miscavige,
He's my friend. He's my trusted friend. Yeah,
I challenged my son when he was here, Flavio,
yeah.
because he bought that. You see, he bought that a piece of paper. He was state agenting, Marty Rabin and all that stuff. So he said, okay, but listen, Miscavige was appointed by Ron, I said, I don't read that. I just read that he says that he's a good friend. But you see, of course, when you are going on trial, you don't say, okay, Miscavige is a bastard, and you say he's a good friend, okay. But
Yeah, I liked your cinematic portrayal of that too. Of us like, oh, why is this? Pat goes to David in your cinematic. Well, why is this in there? Oh, it's just they think it's a good idea if you put that in there.
exactly. Because he was already preparing. Well,
Yeah, no, that's right. But it's funny though. You also mentioned as well, Pat and David Miscavige after LRH died. I don't know if you knew this or not or whatever, but Pat Broker was not there on the property when Hubbard died in Creston, California. LRH had banished him from Creston apparently, and so he was at the Newberry Springs property, which was about 3 or 4 hour drive away, all during that time. And the reason Hubbard got rid of him or said, "Don't come back until you get me an all clear." And the all clear is what Hubbard wanted more than anything. And just for our viewers to know what an all clear was, he wanted to be cleared of all the lawsuits and the potential legal troubles with the IRS and this and that, right? So that he could come back out and do his movies and do his research in public and this and that, right? And that's why he was in hiding. He was in hiding because of the IRS raids and the FBI raids and all this other stuff. That's why he left in 1980. But that was what he was after, was the all clear. And they failed at that. And Hubbard died and they failed at getting it. But I was thinking about this when I was driving around yesterday about this, right? What's the difference between L. Ron Hubbard in 1986 and David Miscavige today? David Miscavige is living basically the same cloistered life behind security guards and keeping away from lawsuits and this and that, right? But the difference is because they got the tax exempt status, that Scientology is a religion, all of a sudden that handles any of the lawsuits or legal stuff. Because now what do they have? They have this whole thing where judges are going like, oh, we can't interfere. Oh, they have an arbitration policy? Good. Well, you go do the arbitration policy. And like you correctly point out in the book, their whole tactic is to delay, not to win.
of course.
And so Miscavige has the kind of protection that Hubbard would always wanted, because they were coming after him, the governments. It's not a false thing that he had to leave country from country to country, because it was because they were going after him and they were kicking him out. They kicked him out of Australia, out of England, out of Rhodesia. You know what I mean? And they kicked him out of the ports and stuff. So he wanted a safe space. And now Miscavige has that. Once he got that IRS exemption, he can do whatever he wants. Nobody's going to do anything.
The problem is that he is doing this castle of sand over something that nobody wanted, you see. I didn't want all of this bullshit. I just wanted to go free, you see what I mean? I just wanted to study whatever Hubbard wrote and see if I could benefit. You know, since I did benefit from part of that, I wanted to continue to pursue it. Then there is an all different paradigm that can be used if you want to clear the planet and if you want to make people better. Now, I don't want to make any comparison with the Catholic Church because it's a bit bigger than Scientology, but organized religion looks like they follow the same pattern. You see what I mean? Yeah. They start from a vision, you know, of a founder, of a saint, or whatever, and then they morph out into a control mechanism, money making, and they keeps on saying just bullshit. You see what I mean? So it's a trademark of organized religion, which is the difference between religion and spirituality. You know, religion, they go to church, they do this and that, to, you know, pretend you have some morality issues. Spirituality is another thing. It's why are we here?
Right. Well, and you see it in society too. I hate to say this, but you know, back in the 1970s when I was a teenager, you know, we were talking about, oh, drugs are going to take over the world and this and that, you know, and you know, crime is taking over and all that. It's worse now than it was back then. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. I mean, literally, all you have to do is look around and see the people, the homeless people, the drug addiction, this. It's way worse than it was than back then. And Scientology had an answer for drugs, you know what I mean, and for education. I mean, you know, people may laugh at what I'm saying, but we truly believed it. It definitely helped me. And even if it helped a little bit, it would be better than what's going on right now.
Yeah, but you see, you can take it, you know, you don't have to believe. You see, faith, it's a very low level of awareness, you know, okay.
Yeah.
Something will happen, I have nothing to do with it. You know, I have faith that something, or you can, you know, inquire, you can look, you can, and if you do that, and you know, whatever is written in Scientology helps you, good. If it doesn't, drop it. You know, why do you do it? You know.
Yeah.
But you see, lots of I can see it also now. You know, with people that are out of Scientology. The main issue is mostly a psychotherapy. I can say that 90-95% of the people, that's the approach. I have a problem. I want to solve it. Give me the solution. That's the approach, you know, which Scientology could and can do, you know. It's like psychotherapy, but then if you need psychotherapy, go to a psychologist.
Yeah. You know, the other thing too that you discussed, just disconnection, the disconnection policy is one of the worst policies of Scientology. In my I'm sure you agree, because it tore your family apart, and it's tore my family apart, and you know, so many different people's lives it affects. And it's so unnecessary. I mean, literally, Hubbard's, like you pointed out in the book, he canceled the disconnection. I mean, obviously, I say this to people: if you're in a relationship where the other person's beating the crap out of you, you know what I mean? Well, then you need to disconnect and get away from them, right? Or if they're emotionally, you know, keeping you under the gun, yeah, you need to disconnect. But if a brother or sister is a Catholic or a Muslim or whatever, you don't disconnect from them because you are a Scientologist or you don't believe in what they believe in. You know, I always thought it was ridiculous after I left that, you know, if I met some people who were like Christian, really heavy duty Christian, and like if you try and you know, debate them about their religion and their faith, they just brush it off, going like, no, this is what I believe. And like you said, faith is very powerful for people. I'm not saying anybody's right or wrong. As long as you do good works and good things, that's a good thing, you know. But Miscavige took it to the nth degree, where he just cuts apart families, and it's a way of control. That's all it is. It's just to control people.
But you see, even there, I don't know if that's correct, true or not, but it was, you know, a testimony by Robert von Young. So
Yeah.
I doubt that he had, you know, fun doing testimony on trial. You see what I mean? One usually does it, you know, because one can and should say that. So, as you said, Hubbard canceled this convention, possibly because, you know, the inquiry in Australia was too heavy and he had to. Okay, so, and now, because of this religious protection, maybe nobody wants to touch it, you know, because, okay, Scientology, religion, blah, blah, blah. But you see, what happened is that Miscavige ordered Robert von Young to write the policy on this convention.
Yeah.
And that's what we have. But we don't know that was von Young writing it. Nobody knew. So when you go on course, on doing your PTSSP course, meaning you have to understand about suppression, bad people, and blah, 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 you read the solution, which is, we reinstated this convention. Before you cancel, then you reinstate it. So
well, and that's what's crazy. That's what's crazy about the golden age of technology that Miscavige put out, and this and that. You have no confidence that what he put out is what Hubbard had. You know what I mean? Just absolutely none. And it was just a money grab. And the fact that the biggest thing when I heard about this, and you know, because you've been an auditor for years, when he changed the definition of a floating needle, I was shocked. I was going like, what happened to FNVGI's cognition? What happened to, like, you know, don't trust the meter, trust the PC across from you. You know what I mean? I was shocked when I heard that. You know, he needs to have so many swings and this and that. And people were red tagging left and right. You know.
Yeah, he's not receiving auditing with that. But
no, and that's actually very suppressive. If you want to talk about real suppression,
not only that, I can tell you things regarding upper OT levels, without getting into any confidential, not to disturb anybody. Yeah. But you do OT7, which is solo knots, which is the same thing as knots.
Right.
Besides the fact that you do it solo, okay?
You're doing it yourself rather than with an auditor.
It's the same. It's the same.
Right. It's exactly the same.
Then you have some other techniques, but you know, I don't even go into that. But I want to stress that it's the same. When I was trained in flag on the golden age of tech,
right,
I was trained to, I want to explain it easily, to get the item, which means the situation, the important thing, only when was having a certain emitter manifestation, blow down FM, okay, on solo notes, stress, strain. Then, when I got out, I started studying and I started auditing. And I had I'm telling you, a very deep inability to understand knots. Because knots was saying, you do this. Solo knots was saying, you do that. And knots was saying, for example, the item is the very first fall. So when it reads, it reads. Basta, you don't need blow down.
Yeah.
You know what that means? It's not is like the FN situation on a very higher level, because it makes it so that if you audit on solo knots using that idea, what happens is that you audit more, you overrun, you audit more than you should, so you get a lots of wrong items. You know what a wrong item does.
Yes, right.
is the reason for a decay of case, etc. So that's the intention. And I'm telling you another thing. I did my first soul notes in 1987 when David Mayo, the devil of the world, was there, and it was exactly the same as
Yeah.
notes. So then he came with the golden age of tech, But lots of people died because of that.
Mm.
It gives very bad physical. It can. I don't know.
Yes, it can if we get wrong items.
It's
Absolutely.
very bad. And this is by the order of David Miscavige. It's very technical, so it's like the FN. It's not easy to argue with it, but I had to really take away the ingrained instruction that was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what he says. This is what Miscavige said. Something is wrong. So
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
But
What
you
do
see-
you think? What do you think the future is basically for Miscavige and Scientology? Do you have any connections anymore? You're under the radar or whatever with people that are still involved with Scientology in the
Not
church?
Some yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you one thing that maybe you don't know, but now he wants mission. I just got that recently.
What's that?
Missions, they have to have the
Yeah.
same qualifications of orgs. If they
What does
don't,
that mean?
meaning a certain staff, a certain organization.
Oh, this to be a size? Like you can't just be a husband and wife starting a mission?
No. If you can't, you are cancelled. That's the latest.
It's just another way of just tearing things apart. Just so our viewers know, back in the day, literally you could buy a franchise and a husband and wife or two people could start a mission and just start, delivering Scientology up through Dianetics, and then people would go to the orgs after that. But, now it's like, oh no, you got to be, really big. And it's just crazy. It
This
really
is
is.
the new thing that I got from somebody under the radar. But I think that the future of Scientology is just till Miscavige dies and another, companion of his goes on, because possibly, I don't know if somebody's sane or.
Well, have you seen? I mean, I haven't heard of anybody. I mean, at any of the events, he doesn't have anybody that looks like the heir apparent or anything like that. I don't think he trusts anybody. Do you know what I mean?
See, when he will die in maybe 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, 100 years, I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody will have to take over because you have a gigantic asset there.
Yeah, you've got finances, you've got real estate, you've got all this stuff, and in a way, I wonder if that's kind of his pattern of what he's trying to do. If he is trying to continue it, kind of like the Mormon Church, which is everywhere. You know what I mean? They have churches all over the place, and who knows? I mean, I don't know if he thinks that far ahead, but
I don't know, but what I think is that it will just continue and die. See, and
Yeah.
then bits and pieces of Scientology maybe will stay on the net, and somebody will be interested, and somebody will hold it. But it's a sign. This is what we are looking at with Miscavige. Is not Scientology. It's a pretense of a religion that is used to finance a project of his, because it has no benefit. You see what I mean?
right.
Religion, organized religion, should benefit the community, should benefit the world. What is doing to benefit what? Even Narcon, you were mentioning before, back in the days, they were saving people. If you want to go in Narcon, it costs you $30,000-$50,000. So what are you saving? You see what I mean? So if you want to save, that's why I was telling you, organized religion and making a comparison with the Catholic Church. I have nothing against the philosophy, the Catholic philosophy of Jesus Christ whatsoever. But you see, you cannot say, for example, one thing that the new Pope says was, okay, we have to let people in. You see what I mean? Like immigrants. I have not seen anybody in the Vatican. I've not seen one tent in the Vatican. When I will see a bunch of little houses and trailers and tents filling the Vatican,
Yeah.
then I would say, you are a great
Then you go, oh yeah, he's a man of his word.
But you see what I mean?
Yeah.
They're talking, they talk, they, give speeches and they pretend. It's like the politician, look at what happened now in G7. You have Trump that says to the European, you are son of a bitch's bastard, I asked for your help. How they go for lunch on G7? Yeah. They smile, they kiss each other. I mean, this is the world we are living in, and with Scientology, we wanted to make it better.
Yeah.
Point. But then we...
And for anybody who, what do you say to people, because this comes up all the time, that, oh, you've got to be brainwashed. You know what I mean? It's like, why could you still follow this? Because Hubbard is, he abused this and he did that and, all these terrible things. And how could you still believe in it? What's your answer to that question? Because I have mine.
I mean, brainwash is a very serious word.
Yeah.
Because being brainwashed means you cannot think
for yourself,
and you have to follow somebody else's thought. Now, when I was inside the organized Church of Scientology led by David Miscavige, I was brainwashed.
Yes.
When I left the organized Church of Scientology led by David Miscavige, I ended my brainwashed status and I gained I'm me, I judge what I judge, especially on Scientology, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I restudied a lot of Scientology and I re-evaluated what was important, what was not important for me. And I have to tell you that most of the time I have to agree with what Hubbard says in the matter of procedures and ideas and so on. Some I don't agree. And if I don't agree, I don't agree.
Right.
I have no fear of saying, oh, Hubbard here says, I think that lots of the policy he wrote for the Guardian's office are bullshit, you see?
Yeah.
Mean, are evil, are criminal even.
Yeah.
But I understand also why he did it. You see what I mean? Me too. I do not justify why he did infiltration in the human. No. But you see, I understand that he was against some issues and somebody wanted to crush him down. Mm-hmm. He was a son of a bitch, but I remember one policy, I don't know what it is now, but he talks about high-class bastards. He talks about SEAL member being, some high-class bastard, meaning people that don't fear to stand and bring, not by hurting people, of course, bastard in the sense that, I have attributes that I use and I stand on my belief and my issues. And, he was over a lot of wins, psychiatry. Then he's exaggerating on psychiatrists? Maybe yes.
Yeah.
He's exaggerating on psychologists? Yes. I don't see anything bad with a psychologist. If he's, if he has empathy with his patient, okay, he can do good. You see what I mean? Of course, Scientology is more refined. Auditing is more refined. We have the meter. But you see, he also he was a great person to absorb a lot of informations and extract the very important part of the information. This is what I think Hubbard was capable of doing. Then he also invented things, and he went further on, because nobody talks about past life. Nobody talks about aliens, other people that lives in other planets. You see what I mean? He takes that as the reason why we are in a situation like this here.
Yeah.
And just to give
You
you
know,
another, yeah,
it's funny. I was going to say, now AI, right? Artificial intelligence is now all the rage, right? Hubbard in 1983, when we first started computerizing Scientology. Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard of the Chug advices, CHUG, Chug.
No.
Okay, he wrote these long dispatches to a guy named Foster Tompkins, who was in charge of the INCOM, the computerization, about how he wanted computers set up where they basically could run organizations, and that basically it would be infinite information about what is there, and could actually, take care of, make decisions based on statistics and the information that was fed. And he was describing artificial intelligence back then in 1983. Now, he was a science fiction writer, and those guys tend to think outside the box. But I mean, I see AI now and I'm going like, Hubbard was talking about this in 83.
But you see, science fiction is science of the future.
Yeah.
You see, you can be sarcastic about, Hubbard is a science fiction writer. Okay. What Jules Verne wrote, in his time was total bullshit for his time.
Yeah.
Was inexistent, you see. But we need people with vision. You see, we need people that can crack the paradigm. The existing paradigm makes us be whatever we are, which is humanoid that knows a little bit. You see, we know a little bit. Now we are trying to learn more. Now we can, you mentioned AI, we can compare more data, more information, more of this, more of that. But it's always you taking the decision. It's only you that can have a vision in the future or in the past. And I think that his vision of the past, that's a very big difference between any other philosophy and religion. And there is a missing step. You see, in Hinduism, Buddhism, whatever you want to call, every great mystic movement or study, they try to give you, the freedom.
Yeah.
But there is a step missing, which is, why are we here?
And where are we going?
So, and they enter into a lot of sophisticated situation.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I wrote 7 books, which are not Scientology, but are a new paradigm of why we are here and what we are doing here. Okay, you can call it science fiction. I call it a new vision, a new paradigm, where, of course, my study in Scientology helped me out on that. They made me understand what could be there. Right. I came to the conclusion that this, and also Hubbard mentions that, this is a prison planet. Okay, so if this is a prison planet, somebody has to take an advantage of this being a prison, okay? So what I developed is a whole theory. It's a theory, of course. I don't have any proof. Yeah. I cannot call our, the people that put us in prison, but you can have a vision. You can put something there to analyze and see if it can break the existing paradigm. The existing paradigm is that we are flesh, born out of flesh, Darwinian development. Also, that doesn't work. If you look into it very much, it's a different story. And what I owe to Hubbard is opening up the road, you see. But then you have to put your feet on the ground and say, wait, what do I do with all this?
Yeah.
Am I free? No, I'm not free. Spiritually, okay, I understood more, but I'm not free.
Yeah, talking about science fiction, it's not a coincidence that Elon Musk is a trillionaire already. You know what I mean? He's looking towards the future. I mean, he's thinking big. Hubbard used to say, think big, think outside the box. You know what I mean? and imagine what is possible, not worry about what's happening now. You know what I mean?
Of course, but you are made, you are given this eye shutter. So
Yeah.
you have to look there. You are given problem, but this is only a situation that develops because it's not because of Trump, it's not because of Putin, it's not because of, those are just product of this situation, because this is
Yeah.
a melting pot or whatever you call it, you see what I mean? But one should ask himself why.
Yeah.
If you start asking why, then maybe you get the wrong answer, but at least you try. And I think that what we did with following Scientology in the beginning was trying to get out of something that we didn't fully like.
Yeah, and to me, I was a teenager at the time, but it answered a lot of questions in terms of where the direction was, you know what I mean, and who I really was, and who really is God, or is there a God, you know what I mean, and, just in terms of just, why are we here, who created us, did somebody create us or not, you know what I mean? It's like, to me, it makes no sense that people go like, oh, no, you're going to live, this body's going to die, and that's it, you're done, you know what I mean? That never made sense to me. And Scientology answered that question for me.
No, that's and also one other thing I want to mention. I'm just saying my own
Yeah.
my own things, but there is one thing that Hubbard mentions. In the beginning he says in Dianetic, he says survival. The drive, the urge to survive, the dynamics.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what. But we have no urge to survive because we don't survive. We are eternal. We are spiritual being. We don't die, so we don't need to survive. So when he developed Scientology, he transferred that to create. So you have an urge to create, and whoever is trying to suppress or tried or did suppress your urge to create, because this is the only thing we do, has been the persons that really made us what we are now. And going back to Miscavige, if you look at what he has done, what he is doing now, we wanted to create for us and other people a better life.
Right.
In an easy way. Easy. He puts there, you have to be rich, you have to go for the money. In the book I write it, that he asked me when I was a designer, and I was dressing him, you have to become the biggest designer in the world, bigger than Armani. You have to drive Ferrari, have private jets, become a millionaire. Who gives a fuck? You see what I mean? Okay, I can do that if I set that as a goal in life.
Well, that's funny because that says a lot about Miscavige, because that's an egocentric me viewpoint, not we need to handle and help other people. I mean, I got involved, and the reason I signed a $1 billion contract is not because of me or what I wanted to do, it was because of who I wanted to help.
But see, I found myself in a position which I gathered a lot of influence, because becoming a designer and my company was doing great. I gathered a lot of influence. And my idea was, okay, I can use this influence to help other people, to make other people know about Scientology. But then, you see, whether you were bringing to the orgs, immediately, the Bram, okay, you have to give up. Where are they going? Where am I bringing them? In the house of wolves. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
No, I totally get it.
Of course, there was some of that with Hubbard too, but I mean, we experienced it differently, possibly.
Well, Claudio, I want to thank you for being here. It's been an excellent discussion, and I just wanted to tell everybody, promote your book, David Miscavige, The Scientology Leader in the Shadow, written by Claudio and his wife Renata, and there they are there. And this book is available on Amazon. You can order it. It's paperback, and you can order it on Amazon in English, Italian, and German soon, right?
Soon.
And what formats are there? Obviously the paperback, but then you also got which other formats?
Also the digital, so you can read it on
Okay,
Kindle, and
Kindles, yeah.
then also the hard cover, for
Okay.
who
Anyway,
wants.
so you can order that there. Also, I highly recommend Renata's other book here. And this is, I can't read it because it's so small. My eyes aren't so good.
Prisoner
But,
of Freedom, my 36 years in the Scientology cult. This
yes,
basically is a different, it's the story of our life.
it's
So
an
it's,
amazing story too. It really is. I don't have time to ask you now, but I always was fascinated by you left the Sea Org and you had kids to take care of and you had no business, no nothing. And she starts a knitting shop, doing knitting and stuff. And it turns into this global clothing design business. It's an amazing story.
yeah, and before that, Renata was a fashion model. She was
Yeah.
earning like $1,000 a day, and she signed a CEO contract going from
Yeah.
1,000 a day to 20,000 lira a week, $20 a week.
It is an amazing story, and of course, she really, she really believed and she's a wonderful person. Anyway, I love the that story. I really enjoyed reading that book too. So
Right.
anyway, both of those books are available on Amazon. So order your copies there, and I know you're going to enjoy them, particularly the one on David Miscavige that they have out there. And it's a great reference, so that way you've got it. So anytime you want to answer or look something up about Miscavige, you can find it all there, and it's all footnoted, and it's really, really well researched and well written. So I wanted to thank Claudio for coming here. Just everybody, the other thing I wanted to ask you, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and hit that notification button. That way you know whenever we have new videos coming out. It helps us. If you have any questions or comments about what we talked about here, please go down below and write the questions, write the comments, and I will answer them. And we look forward to your input on this. If you'd like to support our channel, there's minor expenses involved, but it definitely helps out. You can buy us a coffee. There's a link in the video description down below, and it's just a way to donate some money to help us offset any expenses or anything like that. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, briefly, Janis and I talked about this. Listen, I'm reaching out to any under the radar former Scientologists or Sea Org members. If you want to reach out to us, you can do that. Please do. You can reconnect with us and old friends, and you don't have to come on our channel. Just reach out. You can reach out to Janis. This is her email address, janisgillhamgrady@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We've had several people contact us over the last several months that have been watching our shows, and it's a great way to reconnect with people if you haven't really found the people that you used to work with or used to be involved in Scientology. So reach out to us if you'd like to, and you don't have to come on the channel. We're just looking forward to hearing from you all. Anyway, Claudio, have you got anything else you'd like to say here before we end the show?
No, really, thank you very much for having me here and letting me talk about this person that we all will be more happy without.
Yeah, and thank you for writing the book. It's an excellent book, and thank you for all that you're doing. Because you've done a lot, and I know it's really appreciated. It's going to be around for a long time, what you're doing.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you.
Okay. Until next time, everybody. Bye bye. We'll see you.